Hi, I'm Bob Thiele. I'm one of the team that runs the Eynsham food bank that we set up at the beginning of COVID in March 2020. There's one arm of Eynsham Heroes. It was a group of volunteers that came together right across the village to see how we could rally around to help people through the pandemic. I think what was great about it was, one, that there were so many people willing to help, and we had probably some 300 volunteers at one point. In those early days, the things that were most needed were the people who were housebound, had to self-isolate. So running the prescription service, doing shopping for people like that. One of the great ideas that somebody had early on was, if we zoned the village, which we did into 10 separate zones, we were able to have an admin kind of coordinator lead for each of those 10 zones, and they could then coordinate with the neighbouring volunteers. And so it was very easy to make sure every street was covered, because what we were concerned about was people who were so isolated may not be able to communicate about the needs they had that we could help with. Outside of that, the idea of running a food bank, there'd been a few families pre-COVID who were in need of such a service, but we anticipated that there would be many more families who might well be in need as people were losing their jobs or for other reasons. And that's where we looked at how we might set up a food bank. And here we are sat in Eynsham Baptist Church, because we found it was an ideal venue because it's an old building, 200 years old. The walls are really thick, the temperature is really constant, so it's in a great place to keep food storage. We already had in the village Eynsham Neighbours network of volunteers who were doing things like a driving scheme, help doing shopping for people and other practical ways of helping people. And they're linked into the Whitney Volunteer Network. So we had some of those sorts of connections. We also forged a formal link. We had a GP who would be the lead link for us, so we could go direct to them about issues. We cover not just Eynsham, but the surrounding villages, because there's more of an infrastructure in Eynsham. A lot of people had a different context. So within the number of volunteers we had, and the people who formed a steering and the local district councillors got involved, so we had quite a good network of knowledge from early on. So we contacted some of the local organisations. The health centre was key in all of this, that was one of the things, but we also liaised very closely with the chemist, because we have a pharmacy here, and so that was helpful to work out how we could do things like that. In liaising with local shops about how we could do shopping for people and how we might manage complications about who's paying, and that started to accept phone orders from people. So there was all sorts of communications going on. I think there was a lot of goodwill around. People wanted to help. I think we're fortunate in Eynsham and surround that we have this kind of community. And of course, other ways people helped was they put their hands in their pockets. So, we set up the food bank and invited people to make donations, and the money came flooding in. People were very generous. In that first year, we had donations of over £10,000. We had to go to the Oxford Food Help. We were able to plug into the network of food charities through Fair Share and some central government funding. So all of that together enabled us to start making contact and delivering a service to people in the particular way that was needed. That cliche about adversity throwing people together. What it did here for us, to set up Eynsham Heroes as a group of people has been great, making new friends, making new contacts in the village, as there's been that sense of goodwill around us, people really giving time and energy to, and we might develop the community in this time of challenge. So that's been one of the big pluses for me. I don't know that there is anything too different, because most of what we've wanted to do, I think we've been able to do quite well as a group. So we're quite pleased that we've been able to create these services of support. And I think some of the people who would have been very isolated have been less so. Of course, it may be that there's things we've missed that we don't know we've missed. But I think looking to the future, what we want to say is build on some of this, and we don't want to lose that growing sense of community that's come out of this. There's still issues of isolation, mental health fragility must have grown, we're aware of that. And it's therefore how we can help people in a sensitive, thoughtful way to not feel that they've been left behind.